There's this huge paradox right at the heart of Michigan's mental health system. We're talking about a billion-dollar network that's supposed to help people, but it really makes you wonder, who is this system actually built to protect? So get this, in a 2025 analysis of 182 major American cities, Detroit ranked 181st, almost dead last. The big question is, ranked for what?
Yep, you heard that right. Happiness. That ranking makes the Metro Detroit area, the very heart of this system's turf, one of the unhappiest, most stressed out places in the entire country.
And that is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? How can a system designed to improve well-being be overseeing an area with such deep unhappiness? To figure that out, we have to rewind to one single court case that really changed everything.
See, a federal court order back in 2022 did more than just settle a lawsuit. It basically blew the lid off a massive flaw in the system's design and forced its leaders to completely reinvent their entire business model.
Now, the real bombshell in this lawsuit wasn't just about a failure to give care. The accusation was that the Oakland Community Health Network, or OCHN, was actually profiting from that failure. They argued that the network got paid to provide a service, didn't provide it, and then just pocketed the money. They called it a windfall. And boom, the court's decision was a total game changer. The network's defense was, hey, we can't find staff, it's not our fault. But the court basically said, nope, that's your problem to solve. And just like that, the network went from being a passive funder to being legally responsible for actually delivering the care. All the risk was now on them, and their whole strategy had to change.
And this timeline just perfectly shows their pivot. With that federal order hanging over their heads, the network took its response to these absolutely unthinkable tragedies and turned it into a repeatable, government-funded business. Mass violence, tragically, became a growth opportunity, a franchise model for trauma that locked in millions in new funding.
So after getting exposed like that in court, the network's leadership had to make sure it never happened again. What did they do? They started building a fortress, a system designed first and foremost to protect itself from any legal or financial threat.
And their strategy was pretty straightforward. It had 3 basic steps. First, shift the legal blame. Second, put a hard cap on the financial costs. And third, offload all the administrative headaches onto somebody else.
Okay, here's step 1 in action. To dodge another lawsuit about staffing, the new contracts actually force families, often we're talking about parents caring for a child with severe disabilities, to sign a document saying that they are the employer of record. So now, if a caregiver doesn't show up, it's not the network's legal problem anymore. It's the family's. The blame gets shifted right onto the most vulnerable people in the equation.
And here's step 2, capping the cost. These new agreements lock in standardized wage caps. What that really means is, in a super tough job market, families are legally blocked from offering a competitive wage to attract the caregivers they desperately need. The system's budget is now more important than a family's ability to find help.
Now, this is where the plot really thickens. Because while all of this fortress building was going on, the organization was also very publicly talking about how committed it was to diversity, equity, and inclusion. But do the actions actually line up with the words?
Well, this table kind of says it all. You've got the stated goal of equity clashing with wage caps that directly impact the most diverse part of the workforce. You've got inclusion being undermined by complex legal forms that are a huge hurdle for families who don't have a lawyer on standby. And justice, it becomes a system for managing risk, not for actually healing people.
So, what do you call a system that says one thing and does the total opposite? A system that runs like a well-oiled machine on paper, but is failing on a human level. Well, the source material for this explainer has a really powerful theory for this. It's called the absent center. It's what happens when the whole point of care, that compassionate human connection, gets hollowed out and replaced by the gears of bureaucracy. The system keeps running, but its soul, its very center, is gone.
And you can see the signs everywhere. The employer is absent. That liability is pushed onto families. The person needing help becomes a data point, an intercept in a model to keep them out of expensive emergency rooms. Success gets measured by things like a 32% drop in ER visits, which, hey, that's a great metric for an insurance company, but it tells you absolutely nothing about whether people are actually getting better.
So this brings us right back to where we started. If the system is just measuring its own survival, what's the real metric? What's the actual human cost of this bureaucratic fortress?
I mean, look, the network can point to its balanced budgets, fewer lawsuits, and lower ER visits. By its own internal logic, it's a huge success. It's built this perfect, self-protecting machine.
But the ultimate human metric? That tells a very different story. Out of all 50 states, Michigan ranks 35th in happiness, deep in the bottom third. The system might be healthy, but the people sure aren't.
And that's really the heart of the paradox. When a system that's supposed to be for human well-being stops measuring human well-being, its definition of success becomes a language that only the bureaucracy itself can understand. Which leaves all of us with one final, pretty unsettling question to think about.